Today we continue this course, and these are the final two lectures, and we are getting into it. So this is now going to focus on the piano and the augmented reality piano system, and we start building it today and continue it tomorrow, and that's it. Let's see what comes up. I start today with this PowerPoint slide because I want to give an idea of how the system is going to work and what I'm doing today, because there are more different independent components that we are working on. It's a good idea to keep track of the things. So first, what I want to do is be able to detect the background, like what is the image without my hands there, and then somehow be able to do this, store it in memory somehow. So I want the computer to know what it looks like without my hands in the scene. And then when new image comes, like when my hands are there, I actually want to do a background subtraction. So that means that you take whatever is in the image and minus whatever it was previously. Take absolute value of that or something. And we should end up with the pixels that have changed from this background. So basically isolating the hand from the background. Now, after that, we are going to construct this augmented reality scene, which is going to consist of the background, which is a static image. So after we record this, it's going to be a simple static image. Then on top of that, we're going to draw the piano. And this is something that is going to be done using these, using the past lectures. We did this already, I think, in lectures 4 and 5. And then on top of this, we are going to use a canvas layering technique. So we're going to have multiple canvases here and only show the pixels that change on top of this piano. So that's going to give the idea, the impression that, okay, I see the background, it's my table or whatever. And then it has the piano elements there, the artificial components, and then the hand is going to look like it is on top of that, because we are doing these, keeping these pixels that are changed. And finally, we need to figure out the collision between the hand pixels and these piano keys somehow. And we are going to update the hit detection for these buttons. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I forgot where I added this emphasis. So you should already remember how we did this. You should know how we did this previously. We had this button system that only worked with the mouse location, but now we're gonna make it adapt to using multiple pixel locations that are going to trigger the button states. So this is what we are gonna do today, hopefully, and tomorrow we will try to make it even better somehow. So after we trigger these buttons, you should remember from lecture 5 that we have also connected it to this audio API. And hopefully we are going to do all of this today and get some kind of feedback using the webcam, the button system, these piano keys, and the music generation code. Yeah, so let's go back here, and I'm going to start with this background. So I'm going to record the background when we maybe click a button and then compare it with the current image somehow. So this is what I'm going to start with. And let me remember to turn off this PowerPoint. And yeah, great. So we are starting with a very simple application today. We have here Canvas A and Canvas B. So if you remember my slides, they are going to be the layers eventually. Eventually, one of them is going to be on top of the other. But now I'm putting them here side by side so that we understand better what's happening and we don't see overlapping things there. The code so far is very simple. It just initializes these two canvases and then passes the contexts to this interval, which is drawing the scene. Actually, this is now 30 frames per second. So I'm having a higher frame rate than before. Before, my comment seems to have been that it's 10 frames per second. So it was 100 milliseconds and 1000 milliseconds in a second. In the draw scene, I'm just drawing the image from the camera basically on the first canvas. This second one is not used at all. And actually all of these things here, I have collected past functions that we are going to use today, but nothing from here is called yet. Yeah, nothing from here is called at the moment, but I am expecting to use at least some of these, like playing a musical note and probably Euclidean distance. Let's see. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is capture this background, and I'm going to make a button for that. I'm going to make a simple button here. Let's call it, let's give it a label, a text inside it. And we're going to say that on click, it's going to call a function. Let's call it capture background. Yeah, and this is what we are going to implement next. It sounds fancy, but it's going to be very simple. Oops. We are going to use a global variable. And we are going to set it to whatever is shown on the first canvas, on this canvas A. So let's get the context and then get the image data. And I think that we are going to work with this image data object. So my background is basically going to store the image data of the canvas at the moment that I clicked this button. To see that we actually have something working here, I'm going to modify now this draw scene function. And in addition to drawing on this canvas A, I'm going to say put image data. So on context B, put image data, and we are going to display the background here. And I also need to say start displaying it as at 0, 0. This is mandatory arguments here. The thing is, this background may not be initialized if the user has not clicked the button yet. So let's say that we do a check here first that this background does exist. So somebody has clicked this thing. And let's see what we have now. So I'm going to refresh this. you can see the button here in the top left corner. And if I click it, then I get this background on the right. So basically, it's a snapshot of the canvas at the moment when I pressed this capture background thing. And the way I'm going to use it is I'm going to move my camera up like this. I'm going to say capture background, and today I'm going to just demonstrate things like this. Yeah, maybe you're not going to see me anymore now, but I think you can hear me. And yeah, so here on the top, we are going to have, we are going to now consider this background, whatever the wall looks without my hand in it. And we are now going to proceed to figure out the differences between these two images and hopefully isolate these pixels where my hand is. So let's try to do that. Maybe I still move the camera down because it somehow feels weird if I'm if you're basically watching the wall talking to you. Okay, so let's see, how do we do this? We could make here a new variable. For example, difference is equal to get the difference between the background image data and the image data from the canvas A. So let's call this A image data, and the background we already have, but this one we need to get it from context A. Also notice that my size is now relatively big here. It's 300 pixels, and I think that if I refresh this, yeah, so this is 300 pixels, but I'm not using more because even if I put more, you will not see any significant difference in quality here. We can work with more pixels now because unlike the last lectures, we are not going to have those tools on that side of the screen that demonstrate how things are working. So now we have to imagine any smart things that we do, how they might look like there, but I'm not going to display anymore. I want to work with higher resolution today, and that was preventing me to do it. Okay, back here. So get difference. So now we want to get the difference between these two image data objects, background and A image data there. So I'm going to write the function. Let's call it like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we call these names, what name we give here. So the difference between two image data objects, basically. And I'm going to loop pixel by pixel, starting from the top vertically, so from y0 and same for the x. And then we are going to compute the difference. So I could get, let's get it first like this. Maybe a pixel is going to be get pixel value. I remind that we have this function somewhere. You can see here it has been defined earlier. It gives us an array, a 4-dimensional array with red, green, blue, and alpha. So it gets the pixel value from an image data object. So then X and Y as the pixel location. So let's go back down here again. So this is the data attribute. It's just you can consider it a typical array, and where in this array we need to get the pixel value from. So we have this for the A image data. Let's get it also for the B image data. And now we have two pixels to compare, pixel A and pixel B. The one from the background and the one from the current changing image that we see updating all the time. And of course, you could do something like this to check if they are the same or if they are different. But we already know from the last lectures that it's not so easy because everything changes in the image, every single frame. It's a lot of noise happening, and yeah. So we are going to use instead this Euclidean distance between the 2 points, like this, and say that if this is less than a threshold, we are going to consider this similar as before. So let's call it for difference. So the threshold for difference, we're going to say, let's try 100 and see what happens. Then if there is no difference, so this if statement now means quite similar values as before, then let's, for example, make all the pixels transparent. So all these similar pixels, yeah, I think this is going to look quite nice. All the similar ones are going to be transparent. And now we also practice how to work with this alpha value. So just bear with me a bit. Yeah, so let's not use this size, it's global variable. Okay, so multiplied by 4, we jump over groups of 4 values, and then plus 3 because we want to skip the 0, which is red, 1, which is green, and 2, which is blue. So we are jumping directly to the alpha and saying, I want the alpha of the B image data to become 0. I want it to be completely transparent, this pixel location at X and Y. And I think that modifying B image data like this, it's okay. I'm just going to return B image data, and it's going to look like a new image data object, which is basically the current image, but with transparent pixels where it matches the background values. So if I now if I now show here the difference, I should see something cool happening. Let's see. I refresh this and move the camera back to the top. Yeah, something like this. Now I press this capture background, and nothing seems to happen, but if I lift my hand up like this, I can see that there is some kind of object isolation here happening. So the pixels in my hand and the pixels in this background are relatively similar, but they are indeed different enough to cause this change there. You could consider this difference threshold. For example, it could have a lower value, maybe 10. Now I'm gonna do the same, capture this background. Then I'm gonna put my hand here, and you see that my hand is now preserved better. It doesn't have the holes, but see what happens in the background. It's really, really noisy, and somehow when I remove my hand and I put it back in, this background seemingly comes back in again. This is because my camera is trying to be too smart. It tries to fix the exposure based on whatever is in the image here. So when my hand goes into this screen here, the camera tries to let more light in. And that means that the initial background, which had a different amount of light, is going to change everywhere. So I can't just set a good enough, a low value for the threshold like this and expect it to work in this case. It's actually possible to change the camera, to go inside the camera and tell it, do not do this. Some cameras support this, but I don't have drivers installed and I don't have administrative rights on this computer and too much trouble. I'm just gonna make it work with this. And another thing that is happening is the focus. So you may notice sometimes that my hand is blurry. I don't know. Yeah, like sometimes my hand becomes blurry because again, the camera tries to figure out. I can't really make it work all the time, but it was appearing blurry some moments ago. It tries to figure out the focal depth, like where to focus, also automatically. And this is also something that, okay, now it's blurry. This is also something that you could fix in the camera system if you really want to make such a system more reliable. But again, it's something we are going to deal with today, and I'm going to do this by setting here a bigger value for this threshold, maybe like 70%. And now when I'm testing, okay, I forgot to press the capture background. So now this 70%, maybe I have some holes in my hand, but it's actually not a big deal because the idea is going to be to detect some things that are changing, and even if there is a small hole here and there, you can still see, for example, where my fingers are, and I think that we will still get a responsive system. But definitely I could make this better with the camera hardware, or maybe using a glove like this. So somebody suggested last time, like if I would really want to make sure that I make this easily work, like really reliably, doing tricks like this is always possible. But I'm not. I'm gonna use just this and see how good we are gonna get it to work. Okay, so we have now these pixels isolated, the difference from the background that we have previously recorded. So what is the next step? Let's see. I'm gonna move back down to the PowerPoint. Okay, now my difference to the background here is somehow funny. Yeah. So we have now this difference. Next step was, okay, this layering. So I'm gonna need to get the piano back here into this system. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do next. So we already implemented the piano some time ago. I hope you still remember how that goes. We basically had this button handler system that allowed us to create buttons or even piano keys. And I'm going to keep this code separate. It's actually a good idea to have this code be in a separate file. I mean, it's usually a good idea to work with many separate files, but probably I'm going to mix everything together and put on CodePen so that it fits in this one section there. Let's see. Now I'm going to consider it in a separate file. So this is a system that allows you to create buttons or buttons that look like piano keys. And I'm going to try to remind you how this system works by initializing it and creating some of these buttons now. So let's do that here, I think. And I think that I want to show also the hit test. So let's make a little bit preparation for that. Yeah, I'm gonna add another canvas here in the interface, and I'm gonna add the hit test canvas that is used by the buttons below it. So let's make this smaller a little bit. I'm just gonna do inline CSS changes here. So yeah, let's see. No, this was viewport unit. And maybe, yeah, I'm gonna move it also to the top. And a new canvas, let's call this canvas hit test. This is going to be not needed by the button handler, but I want to visualize so that we understand better how our system is working. And I'm going to put this one below that one. Yeah, let's see, does this work? Okay, decent, but I would like it to be centered somehow better. Let's try to do this. I'm just gonna do trial and error here. Translating by 10 vmin. Okay, it's a little bit too little. Maybe another 10. What? No, this should have been 2 here. Yeah, that looks good. So now we have 2 canvases here on the right. One of them is going to have this difference to the background. It still works as previously. And this canvas hit test is something that I want to give to the button handler to visualize what is happening there. So let's call this, I don't want hit test, it's too long. Maybe I'm going to just call it canvas hit. Yeah, that's good. And I'm going to assign this to our button handler. So I remind that this button handler had here on the top helper canvas that it can use for the color-based hit detection. So I'm giving it that. And then let's create a piano key. and I'm just gonna do it relative to the size somehow. So let's say 15% from the left. We will make our first key, piano key here. Let's move it close to the top of the screen this time. And width was, if I remember right, 10%. Well, let's see what comes and edit if needed. And height was longer because we had longer piano keys shapes. And then it needed a name. Let's have this the first note. And then properties. These were the properties at the end. It needed a callback function, which was play note. So the play note function from here that uses the audio context. And it also needed to know the frequency. And I noted this down. It is 261. So just one key at the moment, and I think we're gonna work with this one for today. Yeah, so that's it. We just give it where to display the hit information. We create a piano key. Oh yeah, we also need to draw these buttons somewhere. So let's draw it on the first canvas and see what happens. To do that, you use the static method draw buttons from the button handler, and you have to give it the context where to put these buttons on. So let's have CTX-A here. I think that's it. Might be missing something, but let's see. Okay. Okay, some things are happening. First of all, the buttons don't work. So I'm trying to move my mouse here and click it. Of course, we will have some different way of clicking it, but I still wonder why this doesn't work. It's I need to assign event listeners to this canvas object here, and then it will reflect here on the hit test canvas. So let's actually make it work with the mouse as well. I think there's no reason why we wouldn't do that. So here in the button, in the main, let's say button handler, add button listeners. So these are, again, things that if you don't know what they are, you need to check the lecture 4 and lecture 5. That's where we wrote these functions. So this add button listeners, and we will add the buttons, add the listeners to this canvas A object. Yeah, let's see, does this now work? Okay, so mouse over works. And you can see that all the things that we did last time seem to work, like the coloring for the mouse over works. The debugging on the right shows me where the hit test is taking the color key from, and clicking on it gives us an error. Okay, audio context is not defined. Yeah, this audio context. Okay, there is also analyzer and gain. These are actually global variables that should be here. Did I spell it with an S or a Z? Okay, it's something. So let's see again. Okay, could you hear the note playing?
Yes, we can.
Okay, now, of course, I want to play it with my hands, so that's going to be the main goal here. And now if I capture this background, you will actually see a bit of a problem there. So I cannot draw these notes here on the same canvas that I'm doing the subtraction from, because let me hover this button a little bit. You see now when I'm hovering it, it detects the change, basically not just me moving in the canvas, but also the button itself. And if I don't hover this button and I move my hand here, it actually doesn't know that these pixels underneath this button are different. You can see there that they are actually the same because this button is blocking my changes from the camera input. So I'm gonna modify this idea a little bit. Let's go back to the PowerPoint slide. And yeah, here I'm gonna add another canvas in between. Let's call it canvas piano. And I'm gonna keep the buttons, the piano keys on that one in the middle so that my subtraction doesn't get messed up by this. Yeah, let me go back here. It's really easy to do, so not a big issue. I'm going to make it overlap canvas A, so canvas piano. And here, let's give it also a global variable. Even though, if I'm not mistaken, many of these global variables are not needed because we always pass down variables. So the code is not fantastic, but I think refactoring it could be quite easy, straightforward thing to do. Okay, so now this piano canvas is going to be on top of a canvas, and because a canvas is not accessible anymore with my mouse, if I want to get the event listeners, so it's behind the piano canvas, I need to change here to get the listeners from the piano canvas. And also when I'm drawing the scene, I need to draw the piano keys on the piano context. So let's have here piano, piano, and give to this also this piano context, and I will put it in the middle between A and B. So basically, something like this. And now our buttons are not going to be drawn on A anymore, but they are going to be drawn on their own canvas. Let's see what we get now. Okay, it's not initializing my camera for some reason. Let's try to refresh. Oh, it is in it's a problem. Our canvas, the one that we have on top of the canvas A, has a white background. And if I remove this white background, it actually does show me beneath it, but I don't want the background to be removed for all canvases like what I did here. So actually, I'm gonna do something not so great and say here that the piano canvas is gonna have no background only. And now I have this piano canvas here on the left with no background. Everything else has a white background, so I can still see what happens there. And this piano canvas is separate. It's basically it's basically just happens to be overlapping the other one. So it's not anymore causing this issue here. Like you can see that the differences in the image don't consider this button at all anymore. So that's just fine. And event listeners still work. And clicking still works. So yeah, is this confusing, or are you following so far?
Following more or less.
Okay, so a little bit confusing because of the multiple layers here. I try to keep this one on the right separate, but now I have to move this one also on top of the left. So what I want to show now is basically that I could make my hands appear over these buttons here. So this is not good enough. It doesn't convince me that there is a key there. I need to see this key between the background and my hand. So this is going to be the next step. So I just take this thing with the difference, the canvas on the top right, and put it on top of this one on the left, and that should do it. So I don't need any more to make it smaller and to move it there, but I do need to give it to remove its white background. Otherwise, I see just this again. It's going to cover everything. So let's see, refresh. It disappeared from here. It moved here on the left. If I capture the background, okay, no, something bad happened. Margin left is not matching. So it's offset a little bit to the right. You can see it there. Let's see. So capture background, and then my hand kind of goes on top of this button now. So it's a bit more realistic. Gives the idea that something is on top. Of course, if I would come with my glove, then it's really going to cover it perfectly because it's so black. So yeah, or if you adjust this threshold or things like that, then you can get this kind of fuzziness in your hands to go away. It's something I don't want to bother with too much, but definitely possible. Lowering the threshold and making sure that the lighting in the room is consistent and that your camera doesn't do those smart things, you can actually get this a bit more reliable here. Okay, so all this effort was just for the visual appeal, so that the buttons don't appear between the wall and my hand, which is gonna be on top. Right. Next. So we have that down, the collision detection. So I want to update the hit test canvas so that it doesn't react to just the mouse location, that circle that you can see moving here. Yeah, this. Okay, now my event listeners don't work anymore because the topmost canvas B is hiding the piano canvas from click detection. So here the button listeners need to go now to the canvas B, which is on top of everything else. So yeah, let me get this back working. So this hit test here on the right, the circle there is basically the middle of that circle is where the color key is taken from. And in the next step now, I want to get this information, like where do we take the colors from all the pixels that are covering this hit test canvas there, so that I can essentially trigger the buttons using my hand instead of the mouse. So this is actually the last thing that I plan to do for today, but let's see how easy it is to make. Let me think. So, yeah, okay. So let's make an addition to the button handler object, so that here in the draw scene, we are going to do button handler pixel hit test. Let's call it like this. So it's going to be pixel-based hit test with the information that we get from this difference. So yeah, let's move this here because the difference needs to be calculated previously. And this is the last function that we probably built today. So a function that is going to trigger these buttons inside the button handler based on this image difference information. So let's see how we do that. Pixel hit test. I'm going to call this pixel hit test and probably difference like that. And now I need to find first what are the pixels that are going to be hit. So previously we had just one location from the mouse where we needed to check what is the color, but now we can have very many of them everywhere where my hand touches, basically. So let me get these hit pixels by making an empty array and going through this image data, basically. As before, hope I don't make a mistake. And yeah, let's get the pixel value as before. From the image data at X and Y. And I think we need to just focus on the alpha component. So if the alpha is visible, so in this difference, if we have the alpha visible, then it means that there is the change now. So basically I have a Boolean check here using the alpha component of this. Could be made probably a bit clearer, but it's gonna have to do for now. Let's get the value. So y times the width plus x multiplied by 4, so groups of 4, and then plus 3, because the first 3 are the red, green, and blue values. So this is the alpha value, and if alpha is greater than 0, then it means this is a hit pixel. So first I'm just storing where are all of these locations. Basically, instead of just having one mouse location, now I have a bunch of mouse locations to work with here. Okay, let's try to mark these locations on the canvas. Can we do that? I think we had the function here, mark something. Mark pixel locations on a context, a given set of locations. So let's see if this works. I need to get the helper canvas from here. So yeah, so this context is now going to be the one from this part here on the right. And I'm going to mark the locations. How was this? On the context, hit locations. So hit pixels, sorry. Yeah, let's see if this works. So it should already highlight for me the difference values here. So first I have to press capture background. And you can see now on the right, red happening. So if I capture the background again now, and now I'm entering my hand in the screen, I basically get the difference, the different pixels highlighted using red. Apparently, I think that we used this to show the colored, to mark the colored sections in our last lecture. So I'm now reusing this function to highlight the places where the background here is different from this current frame. And button is still not interacting with my hand, but you can see here that we have red pixels going over this blue area. So this is where the magic is going to happen now. We are going to process these hit pixels and see if they are on top of a color key of one of the buttons. So this is going to be the last step here. And I think after this we can just discuss, and you can ask any questions. Of course, you can ask questions already now, but so anything that is unclear, just let me know. And yeah, and I can try to answer what I'm doing here. So today is a little bit different. It's more like putting together components. And if you haven't paid attention to all the course so far, then there could be difficulties to understand it. All right. Okay, so I like to always think modular. So what I want to do now is figure out, when I'm having these red regions there, what are all the color keys from my buttons. Now I have just one button here, but I want to know what are all the colors that the red, the highlighted area is touching. So that's what I'm gonna try to calculate here. I'm gonna say so the color keys that we are hitting are going to be an empty array, and I'm actually going to use a different type of array than what we are usually accustomed with. If you know Java, for example, then you maybe know hash maps. I think here they are probably called dictionaries, but I'm not sure. So basically I want to use the color as an index in this array, and JavaScript has native support for this. So I'm going to iterate through all the hit pixels that we have calculated. And I'm going to get the color at this hit pixel location from the context here. So let's from the context. So I need to move first the context up here. I'm getting the color, and I'm going to mark here hit color keys of this color is equal to true. So this is going to make a more efficient code overall. because I won't have to loop through very many different color objects. So this hit color keys, it's really going to have maximum of 8, 10 different elements. The thing is that this color is not a normal index, what you are accustomed with in working with arrays. So this color object is going to be something like this. It's going to be a string, an RGB string, and there is a lot of things happening in the background that JavaScript just knows how to deal with this. So some kind of hashing involved and some other things. But basically, this hit color keys, I'm going to log this into the console. And this will explain to you a little better what we have here. So the value in this array with index, this color string, is going to turn to true whenever some of the hit pixels is going to cover that color. Let's see if this works. To make this testing more clear, let me just move the camera to the top like this, and now capture the background. And you see here debugging empty array being shown. And as I move my hand to the top, I see RGB 000 shown. So this is because the background here is actually black, transparent black, and now there are now the red pixels that you see there on the right are hovering this black background. But if I'm going to go and hover this key, you can see here now that we have multiple values highlighted into this system. So you may also wonder, why are these different values here when my button is just brownish in color, or maybe purplish in color? And that's because this is a raster image format, and around the borders of this button, the color is not always necessarily the same. If you zoom in very much this, you will see that there are a little fuzzy edges. So you may get a little bit different color values here. It's something expected, but the thing is that the color of the main part of the button is definitely going to be one of them if you're going to hover it like this. So yeah, let's continue this, remove this console logging, and we just need to do one more thing, I think. I'm going to leave the camera like that. We are going to iterate here through all the buttons. And let me just get a easy reference here so I don't have to type such a long text all the time. Like that. And I'm going to say button down is equal to true if the hit color keys of the button color is equal to true. So the idea is just that I have marked what are the colors that I am hovering in this hit test canvas. And then here I don't need to loop through this because this is a dictionary or this kind of hash map structure. So I can just check, is this true or not? And if it is true, then it means that this button is being hovered at the moment, and I can set its state to down. So I'm going to save this file, refresh the page, wait for this to initialize, capture the background. So now my background is somewhere in memory. Maybe I could show it on a new canvas there. And as I'm going now up here, okay, something happens. The key turned red, so basically the state of this button has changed, and it doesn't change back anymore. So a little bit problems here. Any ideas?
Reset back to false.
Yeah, okay. Good. So maybe we have here, when we check if a button is pressed or not, we set it to false. And if it is, if the key says no, it should be true, then it's going to set it to true forcefully. So let's try to refresh this. Okay, my camera is now bad, but maybe I can test like this. Okay, something is happening. My computer is really lagging for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why. Is this really so inefficient, or did I do some mistake here? Because I've tested something similar and it should be much faster than this. Let me think, but if somebody has ideas how to speed this up, then let me know. Of course, I could make a smaller canvas size, but I think 300 is necessary for the quality of the hit detection. Am I doing something that I just shouldn't do here? See my notes.
Have you added this down function into button at some point? I didn't recall seeing it.
This one.
Yeah, the down. I remember click, but I'm not sure.
It is not a function actually. It is what is it? It is for the styles. So let me see where it is. Yeah. So there is hover state and down state, and it's taking from the properties what is the down color. So it's not a method. Click is something that we do have event listeners for. Let me see. But now I'm actually not clicking this button yet. I'm just marking its down state. So just a second.
Okay.
So previously I had this unmouse down, and here, yeah, okay. I think I may have changed a little bit here the code. I'm not entirely sure. I need to check there, compare the differences. But basically here I'm triggering the click with this code, which sets it to true, the down property there, but also makes the callback happen here. So plays the note with the given frequency. But at the moment, I'm just changing that property, and the down color is red. So basically here where we are drawing the button, the fill style comes from there because it is labeled as down. So it's just a visual thing at the moment. I'm not yet making the music come. But I'm thinking,
All right.
yeah, but I'm thinking, why is this so damn slow? It's really blocking my computer, and I think it should be faster than this. What was my canvas size? 300. Let's try out of curiosity if I make it smaller, how much faster is this? It's still, it's laggy, and I'm not exactly sure why. Yeah, it should be faster. I tested this earlier, but I think that I may have some differences from my previous test. Okay, any ideas how to improve this? Is there some JavaScript guru? This get color. Okay, this is one thing that we could actually make better, so we don't have to call this get image data all the time if we would do it just once. Getting the context here every time in this pixel hit test function is also a bit problematic. Like, some engineering could be done to speed this up a little bit. But I don't think that, I think something else is wrong here, and I just can't figure it out. It's not really slow, but it really becomes slow after I capture this background. And I mean, it reacts nicely, but I feel it quite slow, and it could be because I'm streaming and whatever. So let's just leave it like this, and if I find out something really important, then we can talk about it tomorrow.
Well, even I struggled with this in our project. This this difference you're getting for every pixel and comparing every pixel with the other pixels of the background. That's it makes it very slow, I think.
Yeah, I could make it much better. So here I'm getting the color from this context. This function, I wouldn't like to call it for every hit pixel. It's too demanding because it's calling this get image data all the time here.
Yeah.
So don't I have something better here? I think I have something better. In my main function, I had get color, get pixel value here, but this didn't format it for me in the proper way. So this is not doing any more get image data. I could do it just once.
Yes.
So it could be improving it slightly. Let's try to do this and see if we get a difference. So yeah.
I noticed that generally looping through the pixels in the canvas makes it pretty slow.
Yeah, it's true. So I mean, some of these could be definitely time-consuming operations, but because I have tested this previously and I know that it should work decently, even with higher resolution, I think that I may just do something stupid now. So I want to try to improve this a little bit, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it because, yeah, because it could be because of this screen sharing that is happening now. So I will just let it be if this image data trick doesn't work. So let's see, get pixel value here. And this one is going to not use the context, but it's going to get the data attribute of the image data, and it needs X and Y. So this is what I've been using earlier at 0 and at 1 here. So now I don't do get image data so many different times, and I'm expecting this to be better, but I cannot use this pixel value as such. I need something like this that formats me the pixel. So format pixel from array, and here I'm going to have the array values, and I'm going to say array of 0, 1, and 2. So a little bit of data parsing from one format into another, and not here. Here I need to do something like this. So it could be a bit confusing what I'm doing now. It's a problem because I have built some components that are not exactly compatible, and the input for one should be in a different format. I don't think you need to understand these things. If you do your own project, probably you will need to go through a considerable set of refactorings in it as well. So this thing needs some refactoring. So some functions are doing almost the same thing, like this get pixel value, get color, but the output is a little bit different. And I just have duplicated functions there. But let's see, does this still work now? Or okay, this still works. Actually, I notice it's a little better. Let's see if we can increase now the resolution of the image. But I know that I actually didn't do this previously, and it was still fast. So yeah, let's see with higher resolution now. Actually, it's much better. So I do know that this screen recording and streaming, whatever, takes a lot of effort here. And it's not really real time. Like if I move my finger really, really quickly, some of them will miss. But if I'm not screen sharing, then I can have very, very reliable hit detection with these buttons. So I may not be able to demonstrate the things as good as in as without sharing the screen. But yeah, so sometimes what I did just now is pretty much an engineering hack. I didn't want to reuse my previous functions. I made a different way to somehow make different functions work together, and I'm not doing things unnecessarily anymore. Previously, it was okay to do the get image data because it was this only getting it for the center of this circle here, just one thing. But now I have to do get image data for each pixel that is red here. And that is very bad. It's intensive on the processor for no good reason. So what we did now is we get the image data just once, but for everything, and then pass that value to this new function that we created so that we can quickly check in this new data format, in this new data structure, if there is hitting the key or not. Okay, but final thing is the sound. So yeah, this I really have to check. I will check by tomorrow to see if I'm using by mistake a copy of this button handler that I made maybe before I taught it in the course. So sometimes I have multiple copies of the same files that I'm doing before the lecture and then the one that I do during the lecture. I think they are almost identical, but there could be some different function name here and there. It shouldn't be, but if it is, I will make sure and explain tomorrow. So very good observation. If you remember that the click was there, I also somehow remember that the click was there, but now it's called mouse down something. So yeah, okay, good. But pixel hit test. So we are here. We are setting the button down to false. We are setting the button to true if it is indeed pressed. We could do we could call the callback. So it was something like this in the properties of the button. There is the callback function. So this now points to the play note. And it needs a parameter, which is the frequency, also stored in the properties, I think. Maybe this was the attribute name, I hope. Yeah, so this is now going to make noise. But the problem is this is going to make a noise at every frame when the button is down. So not just when my hand goes over the button. While my hand is over the button, this is going to continuously produce noise. And this is not what we want. So any kind of idea how to handle this issue? I can try it, but it's, let's see. Maybe trying it explains it a little better, but it's also going to make a lot of noise here. So capture the background. Okay. Okay. That was just horrible. Wow. Still hurts from first time it happened. So I don't want that because now it's just checking every time on every frame if there is a button that is being hit, play it. But I don't want that once my hand is over it, it shouldn't detect the change anymore. So how could I do that? Meanwhile, I think I'm going to work a little bit on the interface while you think about it. And I'm going to add another canvas on the top right here with the background that was recorded. So it's clearer for the user that what is the background that he clicked on. But yeah, think about it meanwhile. And I don't explain what I'm doing here. I think that you should be able to understand just by watching. We have done these things so many times, but think how we can do this. When you know how to do it, let me know. Any ideas?
Some Boolean check.
Okay.
When the false turns to true in the button down, inside you check before the node if it has changed.
Yeah. So if it was down previously, right?
Yes.
Then if it is still down, no need to re-trigger it.
Yes, the different Boolean check, for example.
Yeah, okay.
And inside that it turns.
How about this? So does this work? Is this what you mean? Something like that.
Yes, it seems something like that.
Yeah, I can make it cleaner, like checking if it was not down, then and now it is down, then do the play the note. So let's see, does this work? Okay, capture background. I still didn't complete the code there, but okay.
Wow.
It works. Yeah, okay, good. Let me just finish this thing here. It was just a little bit of work left to do. So here in the draw scene, I passed now this context from the top right canvas, and I will display this background as it is on that one too. So something like this, so that you know what is used. Okay, fine. Okay. No, what did I do? What is happening here? This shouldn't be there. Draw scene, context background. Oh, I forgot here. I was re-initializing the hit test. Okay, so now when you capture background, you actually see what you captured. So relative to this, it's gonna be the difference. Hey, we don't need this button anymore. This is lame. Let's make it more user-friendly and say here that if this, if this background is not clicked, we give instructions that you have to click that button first. Otherwise, only I know how to use this application. So I'm going to give the instructions in this empty space. This is an empty space at the moment. And I'm going to say something like, let's make it red, have some kind of striking color, because they are important instructions, right? And set the font. Font style, I think it was just like this. And I'm gonna just try a size here. Probably it's easier to just do things by trial and error and then adapt if something is not correct. So I'm gonna just write this text and say maybe no background, just a warning. Let's see if this one appears first and then update. But I need the X and Y for this, so let's center it in the canvas. half the width. I'm not going to center it on the height. I'm just going to put it 20% from the top because I will have more text here explaining what happens. Yeah, let's see if this is fine. No, context is wrong. Not showing this. What is wrong? So if the background is not null, I expect to see here stuff. So I have a text. Any ideas what I'm doing wrong? Is this font or is it something else? Let's try to... No, the default should show something. Oh, this doesn't exist, this width. It's part of the canvas attribute of the context. I don't always remember this. Okay, so now it says no background there. Maybe it can say more. Maybe no background detected. I'm gonna put this detected be a little bit below this. And maybe now I'm gonna say some instructions, and I'm gonna use black text for that. Maybe I'm gonna use slightly smaller font size, 8%. Let's see. And now I'm going to say click. Let's put it a bit lower, and then click capture background, and this one lower as well. Does this look now? Actually, we don't need this ugly button anymore. Let's say click here to capture background, and we will remove this button and we will add the event listener on this canvas itself. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. So let me remove this button, this capture background, and canvas BG here is going to get the onclick listener to capture the background. And I don't recommend inline CSS like this. I think that for tomorrow or maybe after the course, I will refactor all this code a little bit and send you an update with a cleaner version if you want to learn more about how to write better code. I want to make also the cursor be a pointer here so that your mouse changes a little bit when this is here. So, okay, and now the text is gone, but if the user has clicked that, then the user knows how to operate this, and probably can guess that if you press again, it's going to consider this difference. Okay, let's one final test because the time is out. Text could be aligned here a little better, but it's fine, I think. So let's see, no background detected. Click here to capture background, okay. So what happens now? Can I? Okay, not really like how you play a piano, but wow, what is happening now? This wow. Okay, I captured the background again. Seems like the very big change happened because sun came out on the window. So it's now really sunny outside all of a sudden, and it messed up all my system setup here with that background. So yeah, but I am getting something out of it. It's not ideal. It's not exactly like a piano. So tomorrow I will try some tricks to make this more nice. And of course I will add all the keys there and maybe try to play some sound, some melody. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you have any questions? Is everything clear? Is this very confusing? Many things happened today, but if you have been following along, then I think that, yeah. Oh, and clicking still works. So we still have mouse hover here, and pressing with the mouse is also possible. So basically 2 ways of input if I select the background first. Yeah, okay. Any questions or anything you want to add to this?
It looks nice. It works fine. I think a little different than I thought.
So far it is different than what I thought also. I thought this.
I thought you could keep the hands on the piano, but now that I play, if you keep them on the piano, like you play normal piano, of course, this is special piano, so you have to poke them from the side or something, but
yeah,
it works nicely, even though.
I want to make it like this tomorrow.
Okay.
We are not done.
I'm waiting for it.
I'm not yet positive how I will do it, but I want it to be more like a piano, not this kind of trick what we have now. So of course this is like what you said, a different kind of way of playing it. It is relatively responsive, I think. Without me sharing the screen, it's really responsive. You can get it even more responsive if you do some controlled environment like this. Black glove would definitely trigger this with, I don't usually say 100% accuracy, but I am pretty sure that even the worst camera is going to be able to detect that this black glove is very different from the background, and you can even see these strings on top of my finger are being recognized in the hit canvas. So I think I can even press it with this small string there. So method is complex because it is built out of many components, but each component is relatively simple, I would say. So this is not a very advanced method by any means. I think that even high school level knowledge is enough to understand how this system works. But of course, understanding the whole composition, all the parts, it needs some kind of effort there. But yeah, thanks. I'm glad you like it so far, and I'm really curious what will happen tomorrow, because I don't know yet. So see you tomorrow, and yeah,